You're saying the National Conference should also be looking at this. It's amazing that almost everyone has been talking about the National Conference to look at so many issues when we have the National Assembly. Even this one, you want them to also look at it. Have we given the responsibility of the Assembly now to the Conference?
If you remember, I was on this panel and I told you that my belief, and speaking for myself, I don't think anything will come out of this National Conference because the basis has not been well laid out. I had the opportunity whilst I was in Abuja to talk to some of the members, and they are disgruntled. What is happening now is that they are being asked to amend the Constitution. That is what they now feel. They are not rewriting a new Constitution. They are not going to change the system of governance. They are just amending Constitution.
And they thought they were going to do the latter.
They thought
the former, I mean.
They were going to create a new Constitution.
A people's Constitution.
Yes, please. But what they now find out, and only 3 or 4 weeks more, is that what is being required is just amendment of the Constitution. What about the structure? Many of us believe that the Constitution we are running in Nigeria today, if we don't stop it, it will run this country aground within the next 5 years. Because 80% of the money we earn in Nigeria today goes into maintaining the system of governance. And we cannot afford it. We have just distributed our electricity to various companies almost a year now. They don't have money to do it. You have given it to Nigerian companies. They can't do it because they don't have money. And what are they doing now? They are strangling you and I, increasing the rate of electricity payment so that they can make money to meet up. So there are many, many things. We have to change the system of governance. And what the Assembly is doing now is not that. For instance, I flew a kite here one time that a referendum should be the basis of acceptability of the result of this Constitutional Conference. Mr. President, I believe, agreed he was going to send this thing. But Ndumaegba, the leader of the National or the Senate, said, look, even if it goes for referendum, it still has to come to us for ratification. Now tell me, if the National Assembly says, oh, this system of governance, we can no longer have it. We need a bicameral legislature. Do you think the present members of the two houses will agree to scrap themselves from office? And will they be bold enough to do that without the wrath of the people after you had sent it for referendum? Because anything you send for referendum, that's the voice of the people. And if the people have spoken and you members of the House decide to change it, then you are incurring the trouble of Nigerians. So we are in a very, very difficult position in this country, and we have to be very careful.
Are you also looking at the different things you're taking on board? I mean, we're talking about whether or not we should keep Nigeria Airways, whether or not subsidies should be scrapped. These are all the things, issues that have come to the National Conference. Do you think that they have a place there?
Look, there was no basis for Obasanjo regime to have scrapped the Nigerian Airways. And what pains me is that today, the assets of Nigerian Airways have fallen into different hands. In Ikeja alone, the Nigerian Airways had over 40 properties. Today, you will go around Ikeja, rising,
hotels.
Flats have been built there by Nigerian individuals. You go to the tarmac. All the facilities in the tarmac have been given to ARIC. It's the property of ARIC now.
You're sure of that?
I'm sure. all the maintenance section of Nigerian Airways it now belongs to ARIC. Then you ask yourself, is ARIC carrying the flag of Nigeria? It's not. What about if we have other domestic airlines who have enough wherewithal to meet up ARIC? Which facilities will they use? So I would still suggest that Nigeria must have at least a carrier to carry its image.
Yeah, but the question is, should it go to the national conference for debate? Are those the kind of issues we should bring there?
No. What should go to the national conference is how to remodel Nigeria. All these are executive, whether we should have the Nigerian Airways, whether we should have Electoral, all these are executive matters. They are not matters that should go to the national conference. The national conference is meant to enhance the stability of Nigeria vis-a-vis how we are governed.
Now tell us, I want to go back again to that River State matter. You know, you talked about how, you know, the way the judgment was couched made the government think that they have a free hand. Do you think that it should have been done in such a way, or do you think that if it had been done in such a way that the judgment, possibly laced with the letter given to the NJC by the executive arm of government, do you think that if they still had room to recommend again, considering the court judgment? Because according to the government of River State, the reason the NJC gave wasn't known to law in terms of Justice Agumago not being the most senior lawyer or the most senior judge. They said that the Constitution does not prescribe that. The Constitution prescribes 10 years.
10 years.
You know, experience at the bar. You know, do you think that if the NJC had been given room to recommend again, we will be in this? Or do you think they should have gone back to the NJC again for recommendation?
The NJC is wrong. The River State is wrong. Because at the stage they got that judgment, they should have forwarded the judgment to NJC, because the Constitution says, I can only appoint as governor upon the recommendation. So I believed they should have sent it back to the NJC and said, look, this is the judgment we have, which is in consonance with our own view. Please now recommend him so that we can appoint. And if they then refuse to do so, then you have a right to create a constitutional issue.
Because that is still the process enshrined in our laws.
That is it. Because without recommendation, you cannot appoint.
But you say that if they refuse to recommend again, you know, then they can go ahead?
See, the stage we can get to in Nigeria is when NJC recommends, the governor has the right to refuse and sends it back that, yes, I have seen your recommendation. I'm not bound by it. These are other names. Because the criteria is that a judge must, you know, have 10 years post-call, so, and so. So if I send, you know, names to you, and they fill into, you know, the constitutional requirement of a judge. But there is nowhere where a governor is bound to accept the recommendation.
The reason I'm asking this question is also looking at how it works, because they felt that the judgment was sufficient grounds for them to go ahead and take the second candidate. How does it work in an election tribunal matter where, you know, candidates go to court eventually, maybe the courts declare the elections, you know, null and void, or, you know, for one reason or the other candidate just realizes that he or she has won. They don't go back to INEC. INEC in that particular case is just required to present a certificate of return. Is that the situation? Is there any comparison between the two?
No. They are different things. You see, INEC is an independent body that is not subservient to any other person. But appointment of a judge is well laid down in the Constitution that even though it is the governor that appoints, but he can only do so subject to recommendations from the NJC and subject to approval, subsequent approval by the House. So it is a tripartite process. At the time they got that judgment, it would have been better for the River State to say, look, this is the judgment I have got. Please act on it and recommend according to that, which they did not do. And that gave rise to NJC suspending the governor.
Because reports say that the House of Assembly, the states, immediately now confirmed
They
the
confirmed.
person for the
But you see, you can't build something on nothing. They are building on nothing because to build, there must be a foundation. And the foundation is a recommendation from NJC, which is not there. So you can't build on nothing.
So the court judgment did not take the place of the recommendation of the NJC?
No. There were certain questions posed to the judge, and he answered the questions which favored the government. But he never said, go and appoint him.